Have you ever wondered who's really raising the next generation's beliefs? Parents raise their children, sure, but someone else is shaping their worldview. It's happening in classrooms, on campuses, in TikTok feeds, and in the boardrooms you'll never enter. Every generation believes it's thinking for itself, but every generation is taught what to think by someone. The question is never if your children will be influenced, it's who gets to do the influencing. For decades, this battle has played out quietly behind the scenes in curriculum rooms and faculty meetings. Textbooks get rewritten to reinterpret history, some through the lens of critical theory or projects like 1619. Meanwhile, other states revise their standards to emphasize patriotism, personal responsibility, and traditional values. And both sides claim they're teaching truth. Both sides believe they're saving the country. But truth has become elastic, and whoever controls the definition controls the future. We've seen the culture wars shift over the years, from prayer in school in the 60s to sex education in the 90s to gender and race in our own time. Yet something is changing again, and maybe you've noticed it too. Students are starting to question not just gender and race ideology, but the entire system that told them what to believe. Some are trading beer for the Bible, forming weekend study groups instead of bar nights, and others are launching conservative or faith-based chapters on campus, looking for a moral anchor in a world that keeps on drifting. It's as if a generation raised to question everything is finally questioning those who taught them to question. Maybe they're not looking for rebellion anymore, and maybe they're just looking for meaning. Every movement believes it's the light, and every institution believes it's the truth. But truth doesn't need to shout to survive. It just needs to be lived out one generation at a time. So the question becomes, if every side claims the truth, how do we teach young people to seek it for themselves again? Because if we lose that skill, someone else will define it for them. We used to believe values were handed down. Now they're handed out. The home was once the classroom for belief, and now the classroom has become the home for ideology. Teachers' unions, the state boards, universities, corporate training sessions, influencers, they've all become the new priests of culture. They decide which questions are safe to ask and which ones get you labeled. But maybe, just maybe, that grip is slipping. In high school lecture halls, students are beginning to push back. They're debating professors, fact-checking claims in real time, challenging approved truths. And could it be that teachers are losing the agenda-driven advantage they once had? Could the very generation raised inside the system be the one to start questioning it? Parents still think they're the primary influence, but data says otherwise. Most young people, they form their social and moral framework from peers, entertainment, and the online world. And still, an undercurrent is shifting. Some teens are walking away from the politics of their liberal parents, not out of rebellion, but because they've watched the fruit of those ideas in real time, and they see division instead of unity, outrage instead of understanding. And they're asking, is there another way? To be fair, many educators truly believe they're liberating young people from bias or ignorance. They see themselves as opening minds, not molding them. Others look at the same system and say, no, you're just replacing one bias with another. And maybe both are right, maybe both are wrong. Because in the end, whoever defines truth defines freedom. And right now, both sides are busy rewriting the dictionary. Across the country, colleges once known for debate are silencing it. Invited speakers are shouted down. Student journalists are punished for printing inconvenient facts, and yet something else is happening at the same time. Conservative and classical colleges are growing. New schools are forming around timeless ideas, virtue, logic, personal responsibility. Are those just temporary counter movements, or are we seeing the birth of a parallel education system, one progressive, one traditional, each claiming to protect freedom? If that's true, what happens to the middle, to the place where disagreement was once part of education? The liberal arts ideal, learning how to think, not what to think, is fading. And when the center disappears, polarization becomes the new curriculum. Maybe the question isn't whether education has become political. Maybe it's whether politics has become our education. Even if you pulled your kids from every public school in America, they'd still be getting an education. TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, that's the real classroom now. Algorithms reward emotion, not accuracy. They feed us outrage because outrage keeps us watching. And when feeling replaces thinking, truth becomes whatever trends that day. We tell ourselves we've freed the next generation from indoctrination, but we may have just outsourced it to the highest paying advertiser. Yet there's hope in the cracks, a quiet renewal beginning to form. Parents are building micro schools, learning co-ops, hybrid academies, and faith-based pods. They're not rejecting education, they're reclaiming it. If that movement grows, it could reshape the entire cultural atmosphere of society. Education would no longer be a product we consume, it would be a community that we build. Of course, the state will push back. Expect educational sovereignty to become the new political battleground. Phrases like parental rights and educational freedom will be the dominant issues in the next decade's debates. But underneath the politics lies something deeper, a moral hunger, a search for something real in a world that feels performative. Maybe we're watching a generation that no longer trusts institutions, not schools, not media, not government. They're looking for mentors instead of managers, wisdom instead of slogans. And maybe that's exactly where revival begins, not in a classroom or courthouse, but in the quiet decision of one person choosing truth over trend. The ones shaping tomorrow's beliefs aren't the loudest voices online. They're the people showing up day after day, teaching what truth means through the way we live. It's the example. So the question isn't who's teaching our kids. It's who do we trust with their truth? Because whoever defines truth today defines freedom tomorrow. Maybe it's time we teach them both again.